Welcome to the first night of the two salons. And tonight we're having several readings. Some of them are coming from students remotely in New York, and several of our distinguished authors will be reading as well. I'm not going to say much about the readers because we have everyone's biography, and we try to keep it, move things along. And with that, I will introduce my old friend Eugene Ostashevsky, coming directly from New York City.
Hi. So I'm gonna read two poems. The first one is not very reader friendly. I chose it because there's a bit of Italian in it, but I also chose it for pedagogical reasons because it mixes a whole bunch of languages. In the book, it's easier to understand because it's part of a long sequence about the siege of Leningrad. So the sequence gives you context. There's a whole bunch of German in the sequence, in part because I live in Germany, but in part because since I was writing about something from 1941, it seemed like a good idea to use German also. It ends with pieces of the Luther Bible. This cycle is called die Schreibblockade. The word Schreibblockade means writer's block, but if you cut it different, it literally means schreib, write, the imperative, blockade, blockade. And Peter, who appears here, is the founder of St. Petersburg. Sonnet 32 from die Schreibblockade. Ugolino City, hast du gegessen? Have you eaten? Schmeckt's? Wie schmeckt's? Golod, Giloy. Flags are flagging in Gatchina. Hammers hammering down in Mga. You fronted, you wept not without. City of Peter, you may say, dentro impetrai, I am all saltpeter within. Who shall manumit you from the indignity of eating, from the staining of the clothes and the chewing with the mouth open? The body swells. Another law has taken its members. Whose liver shall deliver you from the body of this death? Body, boding, der Boden. Read bread, bread. This bread is red. Bread in double language is Brot, das Brot. Peter, repeater, repeat after me, poor eater. Das Brot ist zu klein. Ist das Brot oder Stein? I am not Peter, no matter, for they shall deliver your baby by weight, and you shall say, the breadth of this bread is an and. Command that these stones be bread. Melancholy baby, don't be blue. Sprich, dass diese Steine Brot werden. What man is there of you whom If his baby ask bread, will he give him a stone? Der ihm einen Stein biete, Peter. And this is much more reader friendly. It's called 14 Ways of Looking at a Translator. And I started writing it. I was in Shanghai, standing outside the subway, waiting for a translator to arrive, and she wasn't arriving. So I started writing a poem about it. If a poet stands outside the subway entrance long enough, a translator is bound to emerge. The poet was rising from the subway by escalator. Was there a translator behind the poet? The poet and the translator are one. The publisher omitted the source text. Stationary, the poet transferred from one train of thought to another. The translator ran for the shuttle, weaving among the people and also unweaving. The translator lies in a trance. Does the poet possess the translator? Does the translator possess the poet? The apparition of these men and women in the subway, is there no publisher among them? The poet took the ABC at West 4th. The translator took the 123 at Borough Hall. One searched for a subway station called Ithaca and found 3 subways in Ithaca, while the other proceeded to Utica Avenue in search of integrity. The poet and the translator were riding the escalator, which was scaly like Gerion's back. They weighed each other with scales. The poet found the translator wanting. The translator found the poet wanting. To be more specific, the poet found the translator wanting the publisher, while the translator found the poet wanting the publisher. If a poet stands outside the subway entrance long enough, the translator is bound to emerge from another entrance or exit. The poet was rising to the surface and already saw natural light at the entrance, which is also the exit. The translator stood one step below on the escalator, holding the publisher's hand. The poet turned around on the escalator. The translator said, "I'm going home." There's no correspondence between the words of our languages. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Our next reader, a student of mine, writes, Lo Shu, liberal studies student, language admirer, and poetry enthusiast. Lo Shu. Because Lo's going to read after Jennifer. Jennifer, is Jennifer Hayashida here? Yeah, I know, right? Jennifer Hayashida.
So there's an anecdote about when the producers of Sesame Street, which was the first research-based children's program in the United States, met with the producers for Swedish state-run children's television in the early 70s. The Swedish producers wanted to buy some material from the producers of Sesame Street, and they were talking about, well, what kind of material is suitable for a child to watch? And so the American producers showed 2 sort of fast-paced clips from Sesame Street, one with like close-ups of the alphabet, something else showing how something worked, but it was fast. It followed like an advertising pace. And the Swedish producers in return showed what they thought was appropriate material, which was a black and white film of a vaginal birth. So the Swedes did buy some material from the Americans, but the Americans did not buy any material from the Swedes. And so I became really interested in this kind of like contextual sort of issue of untranslatability, and read the Sesame Street Writer's Notebook, which is this 1977 document where they provide guidelines for the writers for Sesame Street. And so that's my source text in this translation, excuse me, which was published in conjunction with a group exhibition on Swedish children's television over the past 2 years, or exhibited over the past 2 years. So the title of the chapbook, I'm just going to read a few poems out of the chapbook, is One is Not Born a Child. Cooperation is rational, social exchange for a purpose. Several people want to build a doghouse. Susan will buy the spinach for Oscar. Oscar will wait for Susan's package. One child pours water while the other drinks. 2 kids row a boat. 1 kid operates each oar. 2 kids hold ice cream cones. Both are hot and want to remove their sweaters. 2 people in horse costume must cooperate in order to get anywhere. 2 children have dirt or smudge on their faces. They clean each other's cheeks. 2 kids want to make money. 1 kid makes lemonade. 1 sells it. Or 1 kid buys sugar, the other buys lemons. 1 girl's dress buttons up the back. 1 boy cannot zip a zipper. Cooperation or division of labor. They divide the profit. Have a group of people reconstruct the whole by adding their perspectives together. What's it like to go to a new neighborhood? Exciting to some, frightening to others. Use body parts seen excuse me, from different angles. Small kid in elevator surrounded by legs. Problem of what to do with a broken toy. Pool monetary resources. Problems need not always be followed by resolution. Buy an expensive toy to be used cooperatively. Alternative ways of viewing a situation should be shown. Extreme close-ups of animal skins. All problems should emphasize seeing things from another point of view. Have someone put on stilts. Have someone put on a monster costume. Child 1 sits in front of the television screen, so child 2 can't see. Child 2 makes child 1 aware of his point of view. Selling via door to door, selling via sampan, growing rice and water, growing corn on land, stuffed bread or pastry filled with meat, hamburger or sandwich, hot dog, falafel, taco, roti, blini, dumpling, wonton or dim sum, pastelitos, crepes, empanadas. Could show different types of rice. Children hide behind coconut trees, palm trees, igloos, garages, barns, suburban shrubs, fences, garbage cans, eat together, play together, pioneer together, sing birthday songs. Some walls are made of plastic, others of rice paper, still others of strings of beads. Snakes eat flies, birds eat worms, cows eat grass, and people drink milk. B has bumps, C has a piece missing, D has a straight back, E has 3 lines sticking out, G has a place to sit down. You're going to have a whole generation of kids counting backwards. How does it feel to be a fish, a bird? Irreversible change, show cutting or burning, loss of beautiful redwood forest, erosion of vegetation and productive land. Show a person building a house and cutting down trees. Person realizes that house is no longer in woods because he cut down all the trees. What happens to the sky? Cut to rainbow. Thank you.
Thank you for the chance. I was unaware, so like it's an impromptu of tiny little poem I wrote when I first came to Florence. So it's something like this. I wrap him in presumptions of his tranquility and beauty against the waste of the reorientation, but Florence felt me. His speed so wild, his smiles quivering, his eyes lingering and piercing. Grazie. I romantize him and put him into photo frames, just like the foreign king romanticizes him and put him into boxes. Twilight sparkling, violin ringing, snow globe boxes. Rolling glow stick, dangling giggly, blooms of Nasoni crystallizing, large noses literally. He flares his nostrils, he strides like a peacock, he stands preening and posing. The glow of him unreal, the ghost of him ungraspable. I try to make him home, but he won't let me. Ever appears the Duomo, cream and pistachio, Marco boxes, chases me like shrinking maze. I try to escape from the postcard boxes, but he won't let me. Foreign tongue whispers and distant opera whimpers, my coordinate arrow always fluttering, lost in the lightened up street names on the dark mode Google app. I wrestled with the Minotaur, but he won't let me tame him. Phantom buses shuddered through the night, refusing to stop even after I hold my voice breaking. Then sun runs down the hills filled with olive and arancia. He smiles, wavering like he has done nothing. Faint echoes my cry, still evaporating under the heat. Thank you.
Thank you, Lo. So I think we have our first reader from afar. Vivian Van is a liberal studies NYU student at NYU, in New York City. Her translation interests primarily lie in animal studies, having translated for the Hermit Crab Association. She also translates Vietnamese pop music. Vivian Van.
Hello, everyone. Thanks. Sorry about that. We have a screening here at the New York campus. Thank you so much for having me here today. I will be presenting one of the pop songs I have translated from Vietnamese into English. This one is called Chín Mười Sáu Mười Chín Mười, and that really just means 90, 60, 90. So in translating the title, I kept it because it's written out numerically, so I kept that. And when it is spoken about out loud, it would just be called, again, 90, 60, 90. These numbers represent the three measurements that the singer here feels very constrained by. She's writing about the pressures of societal standards on girls and women. And in particular, 90, 60, 90 represents the three measurements of, bust, waist, and hip that she feels like she is being pressured to represent in centimeters. And I will just read the song lyrics. And I do apologize that a lot of the force is lost from, a verbal spoken reading rather than having a musical version to perform for you. I've really lost now in this game of love. You're the one always laying ploys, forcing me along. Loved you so much, I became a fool too. Whatever you want is good. Whatever you like is fine. Even when it's fantastical, even when it's ridiculous. That was verse 1, and at the chorus we have 90, 60, 90. Silky hair, heel pure, soft, white. Young, rosy, bright. 90, 60, 90. What must I do 10 out of 10 to be? 90, 60, 90. Should I just buy you a doll? 3 numbers, no flaws at all. Just looks keep men enthralled. Longings made of lust, oh how awful. And going down to verse 2. How must I live my life to be enough for you? The numbers are controlling me. Kind of funny, haha, how funny. I need to follow your future to be happy. Whatever they want is good. Whatever they like is fine. even when it's fantastical, even when it's ridiculous. And then we have more reiterations of the post-chorus and the chorus. Overall, the main thing I wanted to share about this in terms of the translation process is that as a monosyllabic language, it was hard to keep the concision in the original Vietnamese in the English, as well as balancing the exact connotations without making it sound overly formal. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian, from afar. You know, I'm realizing I could just keep repeating with Eugene, with Jennifer, and now with Allison. Poet, translator, scholar, Allison Grimaldi Donahue.
Thanks. I'm going to read an excerpt of something that I'm working on with a choreographer who I'm working with. Aurelio Di Virgilio is his name. He's a young choreographer. And we read Elsa Moranti's Isola di Arturo together. And we've been constructing this text that's becoming something of an epic poem. So I'm just going to read a bit of it. And there are some lines stolen from various places, including from Morante's text. Rubber slugs in the moonlight, me and them waiting for you in the alleyway, munching cookies in an oversized hood. Even when it rains, you go running about, polluting, drip, drop, mucus, and such fall the streets with your distractions. You wander the island, talking to your imaginary friends. Altitude brings a shiver, rush down below, pets and pronzos. No one is judging memory. It would be imprudent. Moves only forward, only future. No such thing as a grudge, a list of regrets as long as the telephone book. Sexual acts are devotions, are dedications. Look here, thin and yellow, like Christ on a cross. If you close the door, the stars do vanish. The night is lost forever. Leave the sunshine out, leave the sun shining out, and say hello to never. Attention is a task we share, you and I. Follow each instruction. You teach your hands to sleep. I put too much detergent in the washing machine. The hope is for the suds to untether something. So when I walk by, it smells of your shirt collar. These are strategies. Fine if you call them rituals or prayers. I live in religiosity. This is Italy. You learn its mother tongue. Sweet bomb, stingy, starched sweat. Words escape a gombrious jaw. A smack pungent in my nostrils. Tingle of the hairs, the odors that can stand upright. Empty house, unlocking you my secret. When the doctor laughs, saying we should, and then she laughs again, weeping, examine my mother. I laugh too, looking for vital signs in the dead. A parlor game. It is in Henry James. Oofa. It's an uphill battle, pony. Slips on the bridge as the river babbles, like me on the phone when I shouldn't, made into such a rich and wild and butch character. The only blanket left in the cabin is rough and itchy, but warm. Not warm. Tonight, I will learn to love you twice. Learn your first days, your faces, how you move through a day. It is Sunday, and you are running. The ridge of the volcano in a pointy hat, forearms covered in protective metal, coffee cup sloshing as you jostle towards me. This is no dream. This is no fast car. It's a buggy, and the cabin is velvet burgundy, floating over hot, hot stones. Once a year, it is your birthday. Count little Winkler fairies. As spring arrives, we sing you wishes. Flower bend, and then the bloom in your presence. I blush at the innocence of it all. If you cannot be mine, day in and day out, let me delve my hands in your soil, silky and regal, full of worms. Tattoo your initials into my palms. There is nothing stronger than a bond, clause, or contract, but we call it a pinky promise that needs not for maintenance. Nothing stronger than the dream of you, wet and vivid, more erotic than not, bringing me to shore. Arms strong, back salted, taming a Medusa to keep watch. I may not be intelligent, but I am stubborn, stubborn like a saint with a miracle to do. On you, tentacles, on you. Once the room is cleared, writing writes itself. Memories vibrate in disappearance. Spy pen in the back pocket and a tiny notepad. A celestial object is clearer if you look at it beside something else with it in the sky. Company makes the day turn night. Since meeting you, the sea has become warmer. In a dream, I swim to Tunis, a talking turtle and a loaf of bread on my back. Ancient myth, we wrote, you and I. In that dream, I meet you there. It is windy and rainy and foggy. You take me in where the shelter is warm. Jasmine tea and citrus. You place softly on my lips and say, here, here, stay, here, here. This one is older. This one is younger. This one lost its mother. Just like you, I loved you last, in the wave in which all reality dissolves. Thanks.
Thank you, Allison. So next, Montana Ray and Yuri Cruz are going to do I don't know if it's a collaboration or a translation. Really excited to find out. Yuri Cruz and Montana.
This is a cold reading, and also the first time Yuri and I have ever gotten to read together. So thank you so much, Jen and Lucia. It's really special for us. Okay. Django and Adriano, Chapter 1, An Escape in Grand Style. Rio de Janeiro, 1824, land of the Tupinamba for centuries, today capital of the Brazilian emperor. In the entrails of Rio's brush, a flight is in process. Django, an African man from Angola, and Adriano, a Brazilian Criollo, risk the dense forest, searching for the freedom to be and to love.
Over there. Could be a good hideout, Adriano. We've been running for 2 days. The whites must be tired. We have a chance. No, but they won't give up. We won't give up either, Jongo. I know of a place, trust me. In this land where I wasn't born, you're the only one I trust, Adriano. Wait, I heard footsteps. Someone draws near. It's just a wild animal, Jongo. You don't need to be afraid. Let's continue. We must keep going. You're handsome in these fine clothes. Just let me adjust the belt here. The clothes little master liked best. Yeah, but they look much better on you. If you say so. It's not enough we escape. This will go down the pages of history as escape in grand style.
Without being fully aware of the beings and entities surrounding them, Django and Adriano decided to hide in a bush called Ogum's Swords, sometimes St. George's. They stayed there for approximately 11 hours, still as statues in a garden. Within this interval, their enemies passed their hideout many times. However, shrouded as they were in glamour, their enemies had feet which couldn't reach them, hands which couldn't catch them, eyes which couldn't see them. It's probable that even in their thoughts, they forgot the harm they'd sworn to cause them. Chapter 2, To Prey or Prey Upon. Brazilian Empire, 1825, in the Black settlement in the interior known as Macambo da Linha Verde. Many months of flight were written, but Django, an African man from Angola, and Adriano, a Brazilian Criollo, were still searching for a home, for their long-coveted freedom to be and to love.
I think I injured my left eye when we crossed that plantation. Wait, let me see if you have anything in it, Adriano. We could ask the towns in Ganga for some herbs. Is that really necessary? It's a little cut, my love, and a little inflamed, but I think it will heal soon. I stumbled at the worst possible hour. We can't be distracted for a moment, can't even blink. Don't blame yourself. We know who to blame. It's not us, it's not me, it's not you. And you're going to heal. Yes, they are the ones to blame. I know very well.
On the 29th of April, 1825, Django and Adriano celebrated 5 years of living alongside one another. As inseparable as they were, some thought they were brothers. The few who understood what they had together called them man and wife. Even among Black people, many preferred not to look them in the face, as though looking were painful. On this day of celebration, a day they dedicated to their first meeting, the first true look of love and recognition that had passed between anyone, they decided to exchange gifts. Adriano gave Django a figure of Sao Benedito, and Django gave Adriano a dagger with a chicken carved into the handle.
You're so quiet, Django. Do you not like your gift? On the contrary, my love, I'm very devoted to São Benedito, as you know well. He's beloved in my hometown. But I keep thinking how São Benedito was the son of slaves brought to Italy from Ethiopia. He was born free, but sanctified for suffering so many offenses silently, or rather in prayer. What is right and what is wrong, Adriano? How can I be devoted to this Black saint if I do exactly the opposite of what he preached? I'm just tired, Adriano. I'm exhausted too, Django, but for the opposite reasons. Your saint tolerated everything while he was alive, but I don't want to live like that, Django. Between praying or fighting, what would you propose? I don't want to be preyed upon. Calm down, Adriano. I can tolerate many things, Django, but I don't want you to be anyone's prey, my love. Listen to me, Adriano. No one is going to be hurt. I promise.
Django and Adriano, Chapter 3. It's possible to see the future in the rain. In the north of Espiritu Santo, 1826, a rainy month in the city of São Mateus, known as Cricare, a free life in the city followed Django, an African from Angola, and Adriano, a Brazilian Criollo, to earn some coins as kitchen workers. They rented a small room on the second floor of a derelict plantation far from the center. During the day, they baked rolls and swept the floor. At night, they could sleep together and dream of the freedom to be and to love.
It rained all night, and now is a storm coming. You can barely see your palm in front of your face. Do you think we should leave for work? I'm sure the city will be flooded. Let's stay home today. It doesn't seem like a normal rain, though. It's early, and the sky is already so dark. And what would be your problem with darkness, Django?
The rain flooded the entire area of Cricare, and for 7 days, the inhabitants of São Mateus stayed isolated in their homes. The enormous river that encircled the city freed itself and redesigned its margins with a grand violence. Plantations and harvests were destroyed, devastated, and the most lavish establishments, those along the Rio Cricare, had to be abandoned. A little while later, they said in the city that many enslaved people took advantage of the chaos to escape in hordes. It was a very great loss for the masters of sugar mills. In the outskirts of the city, Django and Adriano were in their house in São Mateus. For those 7 days, they'd spent the majority of their time lying down one over the other, floating in a state of profound serenity between pleasure and sleep. They hadn't had any visitors or work or anything to do with or for anyone at any moment. In neither of their heads passed even a thought about chaos, devastation, loss. On the contrary, they blessed every day that the rain fell generously and in torrents. Was this the sensation of freedom, the absence of fear and discomfort? Together, illuminated by the waterfall of rays which plummeted the wet nights, they had an epiphany. It's possible to see the future in the rain.
How did we get here? Who would ever imagine our audacity would have carried us so far? Yes, we've escaped so many times, and I think we've only just started to weather our times together. Wait, we're in a window. The world is before us. If they catch us exchanging embraces, they'll hang us, Adriano. Don't worry, Django. By the time they think to catch us, we'll already be far away, already in the next chapter of our history. The end. So just to give some context, I'm a playwright and a visual artist from Brazil, and I made this photonovela in 2022 for an exhibition. And these characters, they are based on characters of a very important novel in Brazil. So, and I fell in love with these side characters. They were really like side characters. and decided to create a story on them. And Montana loved the story, and she kind of asked me, like, would you like me to translate it? And then she has translated several things that I wrote before. So I said, of course, I trust you with my heart. And what you heard today was her translation of my work.
It's great. Thank you, Yuri. And thank you, Montana. We go remotely back to, I assume, New York, and Anand Kumar.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm going to present to you two small uh, translations. The first is from the language Bhojpuri. So in the year 1887, sorry, yes, 1877, in the suburb area of Chhapra in Bihar, in India, the Shakespeare of Bhojpuri literature is born, Bhikhari Thakur. And that's a time when there's this very evil practice where young girls around the age of like 10 to 12, they are wedded to elderly men around the age of 30s or 40s and 50s. And it's this person who writes about this very social evil. And I'm going to present to you about the very same thing here. He talks as if like that of woman as a child, and describes the situation that she's going through, uh, uh, and she is basically critiquing the society, her parents, and even the husband that she has now been arranged with. Cure me of my sufferings. Slaver spews my face, O Babuji, my father. I forgot to read and count, flocked together like sheep. You cheated me in the bargain, O Babuji. Whose sorcery was it that you went deranged? You slit your daughter's throat and immersed me like an idol disavowed, O Babuji. Cashing up, you handed over the nettle. You dressed up your bird into harlot, O Babuji. I cleaned up courtyards and alleys, scrubbed the dishes. I shadowed my mother, O Babuji. Whether making cow dung cakes or filling water in the earthen pots, which task did I duck, O Babuji? You roved for a bridegroom and returned home with goods, money. You arranged me with a bridegroom the age of my grandfather, O Babuji. Married to a greybeard, my suhag is ruined. Like the plowed land, my house are with scars, O Babuji. Beware now, seeing the wedlock ruined, do not enter a bargain again, O Babuji. Folks laugh at the innocent face of my husband. I will drink poison and kill myself, O Babuji. Happily you bid me, O farewell, O mother. How your chest that breastfed me not cracks wide open, O Babuji. Discarding all consequences of being shamed, I join my hands and sing that has this blister of the summer, O Babuji. The second work that I'm going to present to you today is actually a 10th century folk Punjabi song, which comes from the oral tradition of the Indian subcontinent, which is centered around the Chenab River Valley. And it's this very region which in the modern day falls between the West Punjab, which is in India right now, and the East Punjab, which is in modern day Pakistan. And the story basically goes like, if I can give you the context, that there is this very character named Mahiwal, a wealthy merchant from the Middle East, who falls in love with Sohini at first sight while strolling the streets of Punjab on his return trip. And Sohini, of course, reciprocates his love. Her job is basically to paint clay pots for her father's pottery shop. Nonetheless, this reciprocation is non-conforming to the societal norms, and hence, therefore, She's resultingly wedded to another person against her will, to another potter living alongside the Chenab River. And Mahiwal basically forgoes the riches and the idea of returning to this homeland as this happens. And thereafter, what happens is that he now lives in a hovel on the opposite bank of the Chenab River from where now Sohini lives, just in order to make sure that he can catch one glimpse of her. Every night, Sohini uses a baked clay pot and helps her, which helps her remain afloat when come close to her body as she swims across the Chenab River to meet Mahiwal. But what unfortunately happens is that Sohini's sister-in-law comes to know of this, gets to know of this love affair, and she conspires to kill. She exchanges the baked clay pot with the unbaked clay pot, and hence the pot is bound to melt when she tries next time, and Sohini is gonna drown in that very attempt of meeting. As the tale goes, Mahiwal too will drown with Sohini as he will try to rescue her, given that he suffers a cut on his leg. Right there, across the Chenab River, lies my beloved's hovel. Come on, Clipot, let's keep going. The night is tempestuous, the waves surge high around us. Oh, listen, girl, don't be stubborn. Unbaked I am as a clay pot, unbaked shall be my fate. Being unbaked, I cannot but fail in carrying you across. I cannot but fail in carrying you across. Yes, I cannot but fail. The unsound can only reach an unsound ending. That's a truth known to all. Do not rely on the unsound to help you reach across. Oh, listen, girl, don't be stubborn. The night is tempestuous, the waves surge high around us. Oh, listen, girl, don't be stubborn. Look, the pot is melting, but don't lose heart. Tonight I must go to meet Mahiwal. Yes, help transport me across. Tonight I must meet Mahiwal. Yes, my heart insists on union. Tonight a lover will be greeted with the corpse of a beloved. Come on, Claypot, let's keep going. Right there across the Chenab River lies my beloved's hovel. Come on, Claypot, let's keep going. Right there across the Chenab River lies the hovel. Yes, the hovel, the hovel, the hovel of my beloved. Come on, Claypot, let's keep going. Hold firmly to it. Hold firmly to the guiding sound, the love, which shall take you safely ashore. We shall take you ashore, O Claypot, O Claypot. The idea basically is that when in South Asian culture, when someone is in love, they basically are drenched in this very characteristic of being a feminine, and the person who is being loved is the masculine. So if anybody is in love, that person or that very character is termed to be feminine, against a person who is being loved is characterized to be the masculine. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Anand. Scholar, poet, translator, performer, Jennifer Scapitone.
Hi, everyone. How are we doing? So this work comes from a book that I'm writing about the copper mill across the street from my home on Long Island, which was responsible for dumping tens of thousands of tons of toxic waste into the unlined dump adjacent to it in the years before I lived there. And the book that I'm writing is a follow-up to a book about the dump. And it searches for the places that the company exploited to get and to dump its copper, which extended down to Peru and Chile, and extended outward into Africa and China into the current day. But this work has to do with translation. because these poems make use of the lexicon of a telegraph code book made specifically for mining companies and their financial agents from the turn of the 20th century, which encrypts messages in strange ways. And these would have, of course, been translated into Morse code, so they would have undergone a double translation. But you can see here that the code word for the phrase, the mine has been opened up well, for instance, is lament. Whereas investment was the code word for the phrase, which was apparently often used, we have a good deal of difficulty with the natives. So these code books were used by the bosses of copper mining companies to communicate with the elite through telegrams that surround the labor strikes and the extra legal crackdowns on labor and immigrant and native activism of the 19 teens, which were trying to shut down the copper mills for various reasons, such as to protest the entry into World War I. And the telegraph itself, in the form of copper cabling, was made possible by copper miners. So that you understand what's going on in this text, code words drawn from Mooring's mining and telegraph code throughout this poem are distinguished by appearing in all caps, and then their decoded messages or translations subsequently appear in italics. And I will change my voice to signal this, so that, for instance, this example, which is the title of the project, smoke penny means past years, according to this code book. Lyricord was the mining code word for by constant penetration, and heaven bread was the code word for encroaching on the reserve. And the section that I'm writing about was inspired by the debate between Trump advisor Stephen Miller and the late poet activist Emma Lazarus about the meaning of the Statue of Liberty, which my research has revealed is made of copper extracted and smelted from various places on Earth. The upper portion of Liberty, I and O enter, decoding letter by letter the words teeming shore. Ready-made, telegraph by Mooring's new general and mining code. O, grindery, Liberty. Scaled by way of pipes, gears, and sprinted July co-workers, grindlet, dollars in cash, have perfect liberty to ab-alienate sub-worker, will abandon 975. Workers, London and San Francisco Bank Limited, lungs polished by dark at the adit drain, and the grindstone must have liberty to disbowel the tunnel to be extended by invalorous native miners in autocrat breech band, badly worked combination of workmen, tired, poor, shuddering, copper wire, investment. We have a good deal of difficulty with the natives. Ill-got, the miners here are a lawless set and likely to give much trouble. Ill-lived, mid-heaven, uttered. The mineral zone of the mines is producing 1,650 tons per week of death throw, endeavoring to raise capital. Ireful, not near enough. Darksome, natives are employed. Toilworm, disavowal, hiccuping. $19,500 to extend market spirited, owing to receipt of foreign orders. Autocratic aliens have been badly worked will not affect us in any way. Goddesses gripe penny bloody hand, leaving liberty to act as change for the worse thinks proper. Fat loot, bloody flux, blue throat. There is great reason to fear change for the better will be cheaper. It is cicatrical disunited dodecander fascialis. It is dangerous to delay until identified, owing to the fiery nature of the seams blocked for many months by the ice. Rhea forest chuckling greatly, telegraph width of vein damage. Level has again entered a body of liberty, disesteeming of bygones. Can our facilities for exploration of lead in concentrates, grindlet, have perfect liberty to leach the new colossal give me huddled ooze Trump, nominate trumpery pomp, running at a speed of 291 strokes per minute with a Walmart torches brandishing man-hater symbol. It will be seen upon the plan sent after the elections. Fat-brained felon wart, astonished at the apparent ignorance of the impending lawsuit. Fatherly game laws, polluted, idle to do justice to special reason. Law-abiding alienism, compassion has discovered a good body of pay or will not affect a full description of the property. Indigenous, greedy gut, money is easy, has levied trans earth, $7,400,000. In soul, immingling. Please wire at once your movements. How many revolutions per minute? Wretchedly nomada, Metropolitan Contract Corporation has refused know-how. Reason why you should refuse. Ill blood, noiseful amassment. Miners will not refuse by this agreement. Skegshore from the surface workings. Foreshore insurrection by longshore. Can you send me the names of the interested parties by esteeming foreshore before you have insurrection? Lazar House, Marchward, number of tons of first-class ore is poorer. Lazardists, Marcidity, number of tons of second-class ore is poorer and poorer. Lazar-like, number of tons of third-class ore is true penny, 286. A Lazar house, it seemed, wherein were laid numbers, brushshore, in the hands of a company. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. I think we are going back to New York. Eileen Shen. Eileen Shen studied last year here, and as her first year in liberal studies, she went on to participate in NYU's November 2023 Translation Slam as one of the undergraduate translators working from Mandarin to English. Hi.
Hello, can you hear me? I believe the mic is and the everything is working properly. So I'll introduce what I translated today. So my translation today is a poem from Chinese to English, and it's from a very famous poet called Bai Juyi. And because the start of this, to make sure that the translation is like in a way somewhat complete, so I only translated the first 14 lines in order to show that the introduction and the background of the story, so that I don't really need to explain all the background and everything else. So this is my translation. Bai's moonlit farewell to his friend at Xunyang Bank. At Xunyang, where I host my friend Sophie, autumn leaves blossom breathe so in the breeze. From the horse to the boat, there we stay. There we both stay, lift our cups, needing strings to be appeased. Drunk yet joyless in his parting we grieve. Outside, the vast river has drowned the moon. Sudden chords of pipa our ears receive. Out on the deck we linger for the tune. Searching for the sound, we wonder who plays, bashful to speak. The courtesan's chord cease. approach her by boat and ask her to stay. Drinks and light are pecans to restart the feast. Thousands of calls she finally reveals, still hugging the pipa, her face concealed. So I don't know if any of the participants are Chinese speaker, and this is the very famous Chinese poem Pipa Xing. And the most famous poem line would be the two lines that I translated, like the last two lines that I translated, and in Chinese it will be 犹抱琵琶半遮面. So 千呼万唤始出来，犹抱琵琶半遮面, meaning that the story starts with the poet who is an officer. He is kind of exiled from the center of the capital and sent to somewhere else who's like, where it's not that like civilized in a way and not that popular, and so he is very sad. There he met the courtesan, who's also very sad because that courtesan used to be very good at instrument playing, but because she is a courtesan and she doesn't have that beauty, and that as age passes and as she aged, so she was sent back home, and then she was married to a businessman, and in ancient China, businessmen hold a relatively low position in the society, and that's why she's like very sad. And so the poet and the courtesan find some sort of like a similarity between them, and that's the start of the story. So if any of you are really interested in the rest of the story, I really recommend you to read the translation from others too, because my translation focused on the sound and making it into a sonnet, as I think both style, like the Chinese style, it's somewhat like a poem, like not really only a poem, but also like a song. So that's why I translated into a sonnet to remain its rhythm and everything else. And from my understanding and my knowledge, there is a translation version from Fuller. He used to work in Harvard University too, to make sure that everyone is understanding what I'm translating. I will read the last two lines of the section from him so that you will understand and perhaps notice how I translated different from him. So the last two lines says, after 1,000 calls, 10,000 shouts, she started to come out, still her arms held the pipa, half covering her face. So now I will repeat my translation again. Thousands of calls she finally revealed, still hugging the pipa, her face concealed. So as you can hear, it's basically the same thing that we are talking about, but I focus on having 10 syllables for the sonnet and making reveals and concealed like in a way rhymes with each other. So that's basically my translation. Thank you.
Thank you, Aileen. At the center of it all, Jennifer.
Okay, so I'm going to read something a little naughty, and I hope you're not scandalized by it. So I've translated two short story collections by this author, Asya Bakic. She's originally from Bosnia, but lives in Zagreb, Croatia. And this is the second of the two. Both collections, both of my translations were published by Feminist Press, the first in 2019, and this, the more recent one, was published in February of 2023. I'm just going to read a few sentences from the original text, and then I'll read a portion of the story in my translation. The title is Slijepilo. Ono što Bog skriva, seks otkriva, rekla je sestra. Mislila sam da me vozi u Međugorje, ali ona je imala drugačiji plan. Najavili su gadno nevrijeme. Krenuli smo u pravom trenutku, nastavila je. Uzbuđenje joj se osjetilo u glasu. Zar ti nije bolje voziti po Sohom? Pitala sam. Više volim kišu, odgovorila je sestra I nagazila na gas. I'm reading this in honor of the rain. It's about being in a drive in the rain. Blindness. What God conceals, sex reveals, my sister said. I thought she was driving me to Medjugorje, but she had a different plan. There's a nasty storm coming. We left at just the right time, she continued. The anticipation in her voice was palpable. Isn't it better to drive in nice weather? I asked. I prefer rain, she said, stepping on the gas. Her window was down and the wind was ruffling our hair. It wasn't blowing hard, but I could tell it was going to get worse. We both listened carefully to the forecast. The rain didn't matter. What excited my sister was the thunderstorm slowly moving inland. I closed my eyes as she described the sky. My mind halted at the color blue. I'd begun to forget it. It took me a moment to understand what my sister was talking about. Colors were growing more and more abstract. They were harder for me to imagine than God. Nearly 2 years before, I had lost my sight, quite suddenly. My sister had taken me to various doctors with no results. My eyes were totally normal. Neither the ophthalmologists nor the neurologists could find the cause of my blindness. I'd suffered no physical injury, no fateful blow to the head, no tumble down a manhole. No one in my family had ever gone blind. Darkness had simply descended from nowhere, and, panic-stricken, I struggled to escape. After consulting the doctors, I went on various pilgrimages, first to Maria Bistrica because it was closest, and then wherever else I could think to go. I visited all the monasteries in Serbia, Montenegro, and Croatia, all the Hođe and imams in Bosnia, and even one rabbi in Zagreb. In Zavidovici, they performed molybdomancy on me, read the beans, blew in my ears. A woman from Subotica told me to put 2 nails under my pillow every night to drive away the devil, but my sister wouldn't hear of it. She didn't believe in God and she despised priests, but she took me to see them anyway. I didn't lose hope. I carried amber prayer beads in one pocket, a rosary in the other. My sister sewed talismans onto my clothes. It's all nonsense, she said. If Yugoslavia hadn't fallen apart, we would have decent doctors. Communists would be able to help you see again. Whenever my sister would open her mouth to spit on God, I would recite a prayer or two to silence her. Hail Mary, full of grace. My sister was named Maria, and I felt like I was also praying to her. It was difficult getting used to being blind. For the first 3 months, I cried incessantly and prayed to God to either restore my sight or take my life. My sister got me a cane and a guide dog. They didn't help, though, because fear and shame kept me from leaving the house. Of all the senses, I'd always valued sight the most. So when I lost it, it was as if I'd lost my legs. I sat by the window all day, in complete darkness, regardless of the time. I sobbed loudly on purpose so all the neighbors could hear. Enough, snapped my sister. It's time to move on. To punish her, I vowed to seek answers in seminaries and monasteries. Without hesitating, she filled up the tank and we set off for Maria Bistrica. That pilgrimage didn't help either, but once I got going, it was hard to stop me. I wanted to travel, and my sister spent weekends in her car anyway. She was constantly escaping from home, escaping from me. Now I began to escape with her. The day before I went blind, I'd masturbated for the very first time in my life. I was in the bed my grandmother used to sleep in. Above me hung a fragile ceramic crucifix. I came abruptly, and Jesus fell to the floor, shattering. I didn't say a word to my sister. The next night, I lost my vision. Maria sometimes went to Bosnia, so she remembered that there was a Franciscan monastery in Jajce. After Bistrica, we went there, but instead of seeking help, we visited the bones of the last Bosnian king, Stjepan Tomašević. I couldn't see him, but my sister described him succinctly. He's very small, she said. I felt nothing when I touched his glass coffin. My sight was not restored. It was at that moment that I began to doubt God. I felt ashamed, so the whole ride home, I prayed. I gripped my rosary and thought of the Virgin. I understood Maria, not my sister Maria, rather the Virgin Mary. I never managed to understand my sister. We were very different. She was a grumpy librarian, and I avoided literature because I feared it had made her that way, that books had ruined her life. While Maria went to the library, I sought out nature, far away from the literary heroes she served more devoutly than I did Jesus. Once, when she wasn't home, I took a peek at her personal library. She had books by the Marquis de Sade, whom I'd heard terrible things about at school. He was surely burning in hell. I opened one of his books right to the sentence, "Virtue, vice, all are confounded in the grave." My sister had underlined it. She'd also marked, "Oh, let her fuck with impunity." As I lay in bed, I thought about what I'd read. Before going to sleep, I prayed, and then my hand lowered itself between my legs and waited for something. Then Jesus fell from the wall, and I lost my sight.
Thank you, Jen. And thanks everybody for being here and zipping things along. We're like ahead of schedule. It's amazing. I don't know what's happening after this, Jen, but you could let us know. All right. So we have our last but not least reader, Alessandra Capodacque.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna be very short because I know that everybody wants some food at this moment. But Jennifer, you gave me the perfect, this is serendipity because I think it's perfect. What happened is that you quoted something, a story about the person that lost her sight. I did not lose my sight, but I almost lost my sight. And that was in beginning of the 90s. And that was brought me to this kind of technique that now I use, the pinhole photography, because you're a photographer, you live your life through looking through the viewfinder, and then at some point you don't see things, or everything became so blurry, and so that's why I went to a kind of photography that I should not be obliged to look into the viewfinder to find the focus, to have everything clear, and to, understand what the world I wanted to represent was. So this is really incredible that, you got that thing to me, because this day has been amazing for me to, to hear all this poetry. And, I don't write. I paint with my lens, with the light. And so I thought, what to find? I mean, what pictures should I share with this incredible audience? And I thought of two images. Actually, these are images that I took many years ago. One is this one. So this is the last one. Okay. So the first one is, for me, very much a pivotal moment. This picture was taken on the 31st of August, 2001. And this was in New York. So I don't have to tell you anything about that, what happened. 10 days after, life changed for everybody. For me, I took this picture 10 days before. And for me, it's an incredible, I mean, it's so, I get very emotional about this because it's a picture that tells me the end of a world and the beginning of a new one. And I'm in a transition through, I mean, you can see myself and I'm blurred, and then I'm getting into this big mirror that is the new life. And so this is one picture that I wanted to show. So why is this? Because I think that photography for me has been a healer. After I had that episode with my sight, the doctor said, "Oh, it's stress. You don't see well, it's because you're stressed." Then I started this kind of photography, and everything went away in 6 months. And when I went back to the doctors, they said, "Oh, it was stress for sure," just as a solution, because they didn't know what happened to my sight. So I think that for me, I just wanted to share with you this idea that, art can be a healer, something that fixes your art, your state of mind. And the second picture that I want to show you is another place that has torment. This was taken in Belgrade, and it's the old area where there was a sort of an expo, an international expo from the Eastern world. This is the Turkish pavilion. And I don't know if you know the story, but that place then became a concentration camp, a very famous, infamous concentration camp. And that when I knew the story, I started to think, what can I do in order to explain what my idea is about a place that has so much pain in it. And I decided to hide myself and then disappear, because you see I'm moving towards the camera and then disappear again. So this is what I wanted to share with you, that I've been to places that had some sort of bad karma. I've been in places that will have some bad karma, like New York in 2001. And I'm so grateful that art can help me navigate life. Thank you.
Thank you, we're done.